Hey everybody, welcome back to my layout. It is March 2021. Let's take a look at what's new on the layout. We'll start right here at the railway east end of Banff Yard. So I kept going with the tree making over the past month, and I've been planting a few down here. So this whole row behind the ice shed here is all new. I still need to make some kind of mid-sized and small size ones because I think it's just too uniform right now. It looks like a row of trees and it just doesn't really look real to my eye. So I'm going to try and get some smaller ones made, some medium-sized ones, and kind of feather that tree line a bit so that it doesn't look so harsh. When you step back, it looks pretty good though. So this is about 5 feet away, and you can see this is actually a nice scene. You got Mount Rundle in the background there. That's a famous mountain, the backdrop of Banff. And it's actually kind of hard to notice that, you know, there's a couple here that I've just been experimenting with, trying to see how I can blend them in. So there's like 3 trees there, and then it's just that's just a photo backdrop, and then there's some more trees on this side that you can see. But when viewed as a whole, they blend in pretty good, and it actually gives some depth and makes some light disappear as well. And this is just what it looks like if you're looking down from the other end of the yard. So still lots of work to do there. Tree making continues. Current tree count right now is at 410. 410 trees built so far. So one thing that's new down here, that's layout related but not necessarily a train. I had an uncle who's a carpenter cabinet maker, made me this coat rack for the layout. And it's just a beautiful piece of work. So the rail bed is aspen or poplar. The track ties are walnut. It's got real railroad spikes. They machined these special fit-ins here, these steel fit-ins to support lag bolts. So this thing is like rock solid. You get no concerns with anything ever pulling it down. It's even got the squashed penny here. They squashed a penny with a hammer, and it's epoxied right into the rail bed there. So that's really cool. Man, he's a talented woodworker for sure. So I can't wait to get a spot for this. I'm going to put it right near the bottom of the staircase where you kind of first come down to the layout. So if you're visiting, you can take your coat off and hang it on a real railroad spike. Just show the cross section there. The rails are aluminum. They're pretty cool. So the other thing that's new on the layout is I received these in the mail this week, and these are HO scale concrete Lego bricks or Jersey barriers, they're called some places. These came all the way from the United Kingdom, and I want to have a special shout out to Ian Roberts for sending these. His son and him 3D print these. He did up the design for I think it's a resin-based 3D printer. And these are really cool. So he noticed that I didn't have any of these concrete Lego blocks on my layout. And in the real thing, in Banff, there's a whole bunch of these, and they use them for blocking off traffic for where the tour buses park and stuff like that. So thanks a lot, Ian, and you'll have to check out his YouTube channel. He's into a lot of the same stuff as me, mountain railroading in Western Canada or Denver, Colorado type deal. It centers around the town of Fairview, so I'll include a link to his channel in the video description. And thank you very much, Ian, for sending these along. I can't wait to put these on the layout. So that's it for new stuff on the layout. But over here at my workbench, I've actually been really busy this past month, and this is what took up most of my time. So I managed to track down a couple sets of the elusive NJ International crossing gates. These things are super hard to find right now. They must be having some production issues in China or wherever these are made. But so I got 2 sets basically to chop up and create the automated crossing gates at Banff. So I got an 1160, which is the red and white arm crossing gates. Also, I'll show some pictures, kind of the whole process, maybe a montage of the whole process. But the red and the white crossing gate is kind of like that one. And these arms were mounted on like this, but it was only one direction with lights. So I really had to chop these up, and I pretty much redid them. There's not much that's original. This one is sort of original because it has lights facing the same way as the crossbuck, but I added the second set of lights that face this way. And the other one that I used is the 1165, which is the black and white gate, And I'm going to reuse the gates off that one. I'm not going to use the red and white gates. And what I did was, working off prototype pictures, Banff always had this really kind of unique, or at least unique to the lag and sub or stuff in Western Canada here, but it had an individual standalone light like this guy here with 2 sets on it, because this light faces the road that comes out of the yard, out of Banff Yard. And then on this pedestal, just behind it, is where the gate arm is. And this is how it was for a long time. And it's still like that, except now it's got the modern post. So in the era that I model, 2009 to kind of 2019 rough, this is the crossing that I like the best, the arrangement of it. So the other one on the far side of the road was a pedestal style like this, but with the dual lights on both sides. And there's just no way that anything close that NJ makes could replicate this. So I pretty much chopped them down. The black and white one is almost completely gone, except I reused 3 of the 4 sets of lights. So you can see here, I still have 1 set of lights. So this is how they come stock from NJ. Like a tower style LED goes in through the back of the housing, and then they double that as the lens. But I kind of take issue with that, because to me that doesn't really look super real. It's kind of a giveaway that it's a model, having it like that. So what I did was, and I tested on this one actually first, was I took my Dremel. I've got a flat kind of Dremel router fitting on it, and I just ground that lens right down to try and make it more realistic. And I tested it, and it looked okay when it was lit up. It doesn't throw the light as perfectly as it does when it has a dome on it, but I think it looks a lot better when it's not lit. And a lot of the times when you're looking at them, that's the way you look at them. So I did, after I tested one there and I knew I could do it, I did it on the rest of these lights. So 4 over there, 10 in total. They're all ground down like that. I got rid of the post that this one was on, and I used one of my, I think it's 1/16 brass tubing from my signal kits from Showcase Miniatures. And I redid the post. This is the base from a Showcase Miniature Searchlight signal. I just thought it looked better than the one that came with the NJ. The NJ one looks like this. And I just thought this one had a little more fine scale detail on it. Obviously I added the 3rd set of lights on the top of this guy. I also squished them down and got them closer together, because they're quite far apart on the stock NJ ones. I sanded down the crossbuck and got it a little closer to scale size. It's still a little bit too big and thick, but it's a lot better looking to the eye in my opinion. And of course I put the Canadian style crossbuck on there. And then I added the bell off of, it actually came off of this one over here. And so I added that bell to the top of that, just based on prototype pictures that I had of these crossings. And the 2-track crossing sign, it's mounted using one of the Showcase Miniatures Searchlight signals plaques, and then it's a sign. I created the sign for that. And the other guy over here, kind of the same deal, added the 2nd light here on the back side, and that was from the other one that I just robbed off it. Got the 2 tracks there, Canadian crossbuck, and then a cap from the Searchlight signal kits. So this one will end up getting the gate arm on it, and they still have the linkages. And this guy here, the little pedestal, which is, I basically just cut the other guy that came with this, I chopped it off and just made that just a standalone pedestal. So a lot of kit bashing to kind of get these to where they're at right now. And I have my own, I don't know if I've shown it before, but I made a bunch of Canadian signage and CP signage specifically for my layout. So I used my, I got crossbucks anywhere up from 2 to 4 tracks to 5 tracks actually I've got on there. So that's what I use. They're just printed on printer paper, and it's kind of a steel gray color on the back side. So I will put some pictures, because this was a lot of work getting them to this point. I rewired everything with magnet wire. The ones that come with NJ International, like this is the wiring they use, and they just twist it up and paint it silver, and then it's just like behind the post, and that's how they wired them both. So I rewired them with magnet wire. It's a lot harder to see. Like it's pretty hard to make out, but there's 2 magnet wires on the back side of that post. That's the new wiring from me. And these things were actually a lot harder to work with than I thought they would be. Like I assumed they would be like pewter or something. They're actually cast brass. So you can see there. So this is from one of the ones that I chopped up, but they are extremely hard to work with. I had to use the Dremel with the metal cutoff wheel to do any kind of cutting on them. Drilling them was really difficult. Like I had to re-drill these lights because they're cast brass. They're actually the whole thing. They must cast it all in one piece. As you can see here, the cross buck and everything is all one piece. So I had to use my Dremel and cut it off on both sides and then re-drill that cross buck out to get that back on there. So this was a lot of work. To me, the cross bucks are like such an eye catcher, especially since they light up and there's movement. So they really draw attention on the layout. So I figured might as well try going all out on these things to try and get them as close as I can to the CP prototype in Banff. And I think it's going to pay off. I can't wait to get these things hooked up to my Logic Rail Technologies crossing circuits and get these things automated. So these are all done and painted and ready to go. The final thing I'm working on right now is the crossing gates. I debated doing this, but then I just thought, you know what? I'm going to go all out on these things. So these are the black and white gates. They come with some tiny brass lights, kind of 3 of them put on there to represent the flashing lights you'd see on the gate arms. So I ground those right down, and I've got tricolor SMDs on here, and I've wired them up just for the red. And we're going to have flashing crossing lights on the automated gates, just like the real thing. So I still got a ways to go on there. I've laid down the white on them. They're all wired up and working. I've got all 6 on there. So the final thing I'm going to do is paint the red 45 sashing on the gate arms. So they're almost there. And pretty soon I'm going to have these done too. And then when that's all finished, they'll be going on the layout and be wiring them up with the Logic Rail Technologies crossing circuits. Can't show them lit right now because they're masked, and I'm not going to unmask them to light them. But next month should have them all done and be able to show you guys that at least. So that's going to wrap up this layout update video, guys. As always, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.